All right. So, I'll let you go. I'm not running the meeting.
Let's call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. And public comments.
Pete, you have anything you want to add to the meeting? Anything you want to say, or?
No, I've just been, it's good. I've left my position, Ken, and but they said that I could sit in at any point, which was, glad for me with my issues that I've had to be able to sit in, just see what's going on, and I appreciate that of everybody, and so that's why I'm here.
Good to see you again, Pete.
You're very quiet. I don't know if it's on our end or if it's your end, Ken.
Let's see.
You adjust his mic or no?
I can go up a little bit more, but I'm at 84%.
You're high. How about if I get closer? Does that help at all?
It's still pretty quiet. Oh, Samsung. How about try it now?
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, that's better. I had it on the wrong wrong mic speakers. Thank you.
Changes to the agenda.
I do have a couple of additions to the agenda. I have an estimate for possible work to be done inside the bay that I'm going to stick after the VEPS outstanding balance. We also have to just vote to acknowledge a letter from VEMRS for the retirement change that we made back in April. And then after outages, there's a request from Rod, who will be here a little later, to go into executive session to discuss worker pay on one employee.
View and approve the June 11th, 2024 minutes. So everyone got a chance to read those, or?
Did make sure everyone got them. I hope everyone got a chance to read through them. And
At a cursory glance, I didn't really see.
then one change I did make from when I sent it to you, I changed it today. I will resend it to you. At the top, it says Village of Jacksonville Electric Company, and underneath it said said special meeting. Still, I changed it to monthly meeting. So just as a heads up, before I printed everybody's in the official copy, I did make that adjustment. Okay. And I'll send it to you again.
Yeah. I should probably do a / treasurer after John's name up at the top. I do trustee president after Tyler.
Should we do that for going forward?
Yeah.
Because technically at the time of this, it wasn't. He wasn't until we voted him in during the meeting. So I would say going from now on, we should.
Okay.
For any adjustment, discussion or suggestions? Someone want to make a motion to accept the minutes then? Yes, I can. I make a motion to accept the June 11th, 2024.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the June 11th, 2024 minutes have been accepted as written. Review the minutes from the 101 annual meeting.
Just like to have my name spelled properly.
Why?
I thought you might have AI printing the minutes or something that doing work at here.
All right. Um,
Uh, I should clarify, we're not actually approving these minutes. These are just for review.
okay,
Because
Well-
these will be approved at the next annual meeting.
I do have a question, so. Did we vote on the treasurer in the annual?
No, it was in the right
Okay.
area.
Okay, then that still stands and.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But can I ask why we, do not vote for treasurer in the annual meeting and why it is put off until a regular meeting? I don't believe that's been the standard in the past, because the minutes from Pam's, we had treasurer voted on, I think, maybe I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure. I know the president waited. I'm pretty sure the president waited until regular, but I don't think the treasurer did.
Yeah, I was thinking about Julie Fox, I think, and I was thinking that she, as far as I know, wasn't a trustee.
I think she was all elected at the trustees meeting.
Was she a
Not at the
trustee,
annual
though?
meeting.
Was she a trustee, Julie?
No, she was clerk and treasurer. Both.
So it could be it doesn't have to be a trustee who could be treasurer, but it's voted on
But
by the trustees.
by the trustees.
I got it, okay. I think that we were wondering about
Okay.
that. So it could be anybody, but it's only voted on by the trustees. So it didn't have to be you.
Tell me this now.
You want to kick me out?
No, no.
I think the president was voted that way up to a few years
Yes,
ago.
yeah.
And then they were voted in by the trustees at the next meeting.
Got it.
At the regular, after the annual meeting, then the trustees would vote one of the five to be
The president,
president.
yeah.
But
We haven't had a treasurer to run that through until
Right.
John volunteered.
But for our clerk or treasurer, the 5 trustees vote, but it could be anyone within the village that they vote to become the treasurer, correct?
I would think so.
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily done at the
The
annual.
Yeah, does it have to be done at the annual
I
meeting?
think so.
Okay.
I think after your trustees were at your regular trustee meeting.
Right,
Like this is tonight.
beautiful.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other discussion about the annual meeting? All right, can we move on to the financial reports then?
For financial reports, starting with the treasurer report, as you want to give it?
No, I don't.
You were looking at me, so I was like, maybe. We did add 3 more accounts for the 3 community bank accounts. So we do have a total of 6 accounts at the beginning, between the beginning and the end of the month, we had 6 accounts in total. We are now down to 5 because Great River Hydro is fully transitioned. By next month, money market will definitely be transitioned. It's ready right now. The checking, as long as we have 2 checks we're waiting on, and once those clear, we can move those over. So M&T general checking, we did start with $183,346.37. We received $63,027.24. This is obviously, we're coming into midsummer, so our bills are lower this time of year. So credits are, we were averaging around 100,000. Now we're down to about 60,000 income. And then obviously debits, we had a massive Green Mountain Power bill of 29,000. We paid a few VEPSA bills, so we actually had a lot. And then obviously transitioning some of that, to we didn't even transfer any on that particular account over to community bank. We just started putting deposits in there. So those are all actual expenses of $144,517.12. Ending balance of $101,856.49. Money market started at $52,273. We did take out $25,000 at the beginning to put into community bank. Then we got interest on what was left of $3.89, leaving us a balance currently of $27,277.14. Great River Hydro account had $22,933.50. No interest on that. We did debit all of that and put it into community bank at a 0% interest. So that is fully closed out with a 0 balance. Now we get into the community bank general checking. We started the month with $0. We added $6,350 over the course of 3 days. We gained interest on that of 76 cents, ending the month with $6,351.07. Community bank money market obviously started 0, put in 25,000. We made $8.56 on that, leaving us a balance of $25,080 and $8.56. And the Great River Hydro account, we have at $22,933.50 as a credit into the account and the ending balance. Just before I go on, are there any questions on that?
So Gray River Hydro is closed or just empty?
It's closed at M&T. That is the only account that is officially closed at this point. Now, we could make interest on that from community bank's perspective. Our understanding, I checked with Bud, and our understanding was that we are not supposed to make interest on it from a Great River Hydro perspective unless we reached out to them and found out. So as of right now, no interest in that account. But just be aware that we could if
We'd like to.
we'd like to if community bank or if Great River Hydro would allow it.
Yeah.
So we'll find out what they want. I just haven't had a chance to call them. I did not get a chance to give you any other financials right now. I'm sorry. This has been a crazy transition time. It was throwing paperwork in together at 3:00 this afternoon. So if anyone wants to see a trial balance or a balance sheet at any point, definitely stop by. I can also email them out. So just let me know. Okay. We need a vote to approve the treasurer's report and then we can do the payables.
Gotcha. So, the checking account, they actually do, interest on
They
it?
do. It's a 1% interest rate. So that's pretty cool. I know. That was actually a big, it was pretty cool that they did that. So that's
Okay.
pretty amazing.
I make a motion that we accept the treasurer's report. From second,
Second the motion.
all in favor?
I-
Aye.
All right, the treasurer report has been approved as written. For the signed payables, should anything jump out at you or?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. The first, I'm sure you see that the total is $182,472. I have a few VEPSA checks in there. We have paid all of our VEPSA checks that we had in the drawer that we can send. So I asked for Mary Lee to print a few and have them signed so that if we do get in a position where we can pay them, that we have them available. So that we're not sending $182,000 out, but that we're approving it so that I can send them if we're in a position to, going forward. I believe when I took out the VEPSA checks, our payable was 59,000, something like that. VEPSA checks include $29,000, a $68,000, and a $50,000 check. Those are the three. There are a few refunds for people who have closed their accounts with us. A lot going to audits. Yeah, that's pretty much.
So we're just gonna pick one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you sign this one.
Okay.
Um. I remember that we had a conversation, about cleaning. And then we said the trustees did not want to do what
Cleaning
was
regularly.
right.
Yeah.
But approved like a
One time.
periodic.
Yeah, what we were planning on, I don't know if it was actually voted on, but we were thinking every 6 months,
Okay.
have somebody come in. We did it before the annual meeting, so that's the one you see on there from Jolene. And then we'll do it again this fall. And we'll kind of plan right before the annual meeting. Every year was $250, I think it was, as kind of the expense. I think we may try someone different next time, but we'll see. As it comes up.
What did we rent for equipment from
That was that.
FMR?
Excavator, when we need to remove poles, anything like that, Rod uses Scott's excavator and pulls those poles. That's the rental.
And maintenance is, some repairs to the building.
The Dub is, there's actually quite a few on there. I can actually pull the full thing if you want to see it, but there's a couple of code locks for the doors, which has made it easier for the big one was CED, our electrical supply company, missed us 2 Wednesdays in a row because they couldn't get into our garage for whatever reason. Somebody wasn't here to let them in or whatever it was. And so that was, we decided we probably should put a code lock and give them the code so they can just slide it in. We had, what else do we have? I'd have to look exactly the invoices, but yeah, it was just miscellaneous things. There's a screwdriver and a hammer that we had to purchase. Some other things.
You're trustees now.
What was that?
Are you a trustee?
I am not. Please do.
Just wondering, we're talking about how we gotta be a trustees to do this, not to get voted in.
I know it gets confusing now, isn't it?
Yeah. Everything's confusing, yeah.
Here, you want to start doing that one too? That's payroll.
For any other discussion on payables?
Have you got your master one that we signed?
That I believe might be what you have right there.
No, I got one here, but I didn't know whether you had
There's
another
a,
one or not.
nope, that's it.
That's it, okay.
I try to keep the ones that only have one side as the master. So if it has 2 sides on it, that's how you know.
Okay. If you got all on board, John, so you could sign the check and everything,
Yes.
you have, so, okay,
Tomorrow's his first signing.
okay. Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure that, yeah,
I'm all set to do that.
yeah, good enough. And Kenny and I all set, right?
Yep.
Okay, so, okay,
So
Everybody's on.
the only thing that he's not on and that you guys are is M&T. I haven't added him to M&T. So just as a heads up, I'll have to have you at some point, we talked about it, go up and close out the money market. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there any discussion on payroll? John Doty's pay?
Yeah, so essentially we have not had a treasurer for a while. Bud and I and Mr. Doty have talked about it a little bit. And it seems to make sense to pay John based on what we pay everybody else in the office of $25 an hour for the time that he spends doing the treasurer job. Obviously, when he's a trustee in the trustee position, he gets the $60 for the meetings or $7, whatever it is, whatever that amount is for the meetings. he will get. But if he's in signing checks or whatever, it seems to make sense that it was $25 an hour. But I wanted to make sure that the board was good with that and that made sense to everyone. You'll notice you were not in the payroll because I wanted to get the approval for that, but we can definitely pay.
I think I'll make it.
I figured you probably weren't gonna miss out on food on the table for that.
Have hot dogs.
There you go.
So, is there like a distinction between, the treasurer's roles and the, trustees'
Yeah.
roles as far as, out the.
What times are counted as what? So trustees are the meetings.
Yeah,
Or obviously if there's a special meeting or something we call all the trustees for. The treasurer time would be time that is spent signing checks, meeting with the bank, checking audits, that kind of thing, would be treasurer time. And we just keep track of that hourly. That's true. That's how I would do it.
yeah.
I think that makes sense, but obviously if there's some
Yeah,
other way we want to do it, we
I
can.
was just thinking about like the standard, the SOP type. Well, this is what
Mhm.
a treasurer does
Like a document that actually says it.
versus this is what trustees do, like if they were to help out in the
Mhm.
office, but as a trustee role rather than a treasurer
Right.
role.
You're saying a document that actually describes that? Is that what you're thinking?
I mean, I don't see Sean doing this, but say we were short-staffed in the office and had to stuff envelopes.
Yep.
That would, I would think, be a trustee
I would agree. Yeah.
role rather
Yep,
than
I
a
agree.
treasurer role.
Yep.
And that distinction.
Yep. Does that mean I can call you guys when we need a stuffed envelope?
You can. Yeah, at least call me.
It's the most fun job we do.
I
in
offered
Vermont.
Kyle many times
Yeah.
and she refused.
So
Yes.
all I was,
It's probably worth doing a job description. I plan to, my free time, pull a actual employee handbook that would include all the job descriptions
Yeah.
for everybody we do have. I just haven't gotten into that yet, but
I
that would
was saying,
include
yeah,
treasurer
the
and clerk.
distinction
Yeah.
should be,
Correct. And same with the clerk, in
Yeah.
theory, it's the same thing, or, this would be covered and this wouldn't be covered on the clerk job. Yep.
all right. I have no problem. Someone is there any other discussion or, someone wanna make a motion?
Make a motion that we authorize the treasurer's pay at $25 an hour, to be consistent with other employees' pay. For
Second motion.
trustees' jobs.
All in favor?
Well,
Aye.
Abstain.
Great. The aged receivables.
So on the receivables report, there's no crazy difference here than what we've been seeing. It's about 75,000 total. We did have one learning this month. The Candlelight Bed and Breakfast sold, and they were already 60 days behind. They were not at the 90 days yet, so it didn't trigger in our systems of keeping an eye on that. So now they've sold. We did not already have a lien on the property at the time of the sale, so therefore we weren't paid. I anticipate we're not going to be paid this back balance of $200 from the Candlelight, from the previous owner. We might be, but my hunch is they're not going to pay. They don't have an intention to pay. So the learning was, if we see a house go on the market that owes us anything more than 30 days, we should put the lien on the property at the time that we see it go on the market. So that way, if it goes up if it actually goes to sale, we have a lien in place that the lawyer would reach out to us. And I did check with Bob, and he said if he ever did a closing and saw a lien on a property for any electric company, any utility company, he would definitely be reaching out. He said any lawyer in this area would be reaching out. He said, of course, you might get a lawyer from New York who wouldn't, but he said they're technically not fully honorable, but they're all but, and they would definitely be honored in this area most of the time. So just as a heads up, that's a learning we had. Probably gonna have to eat that $200 in the meantime.
Be nice to send a bill anyway and see if.
We will, for sure. These bills, so we do, just so you're aware, we do write-offs at the end of the year. So we will continue sending bills until the write-off. I actually got a call today, literally today, from a person who represents John Foote, who is one of our people that we've essentially said we're never going to get paid, who said they were interested in selling. They're potentially looking at selling the house, and they were wondering what the back balance was. So it tells you it is worth it to hold on.
Right?
Oh, I made sure to put an updated lien on it today.
We have an old one on it.
Yeah, we had an old one, but now we don't even have a meter on the house anymore. So I wanted to make sure we get the most accurate information in there, and so we did.
I didn't want, we had him on the list to write off, and I was.
I'm glad you didn't.
adamant Wouldn't.
I'm glad you didn't.
Burring. He's been a bird.
I'm very hopeful that it's gonna, essentially, it's going up for tax sale next year is what I was told. And the town spoke with the same person I did, and they're realizing they got to do something, or they're just gonna lose the house and not make any money off of it. So.
The sale of the house, the Candlelight.
Yeah.
Is there any way to track where they went?
We have the updated address because she moved a while ago.
Okay.
So she is getting the bills. The only thing we might do next month is put a certified on it just to verify she is getting it. Again, and I was thinking I might call her as well and just see, sometime, maybe she's just not getting it. But it's been like 3 months. So
What's the amount that's owed?
that's $200. It's not
Oh,
crazy, but it's, and when we do our deposit, that obviously gets reflected when we have a back balance on a deposit for a new account. So not that we can take the deposit and put it towards that, but the new person coming in had to pay, I think it was like $800 for a deposit on that house because of it.
Open till 4 Monday.
Open to 4 on Monday through Thursday. Why, do you need me later? I can be later too.
I hope not. Hopefully the people will be ready. I won't have anything until, well, Friday, but
Right. Then you find out how much you have to pay the Jeep too, right?
no, that's my roommate that's paying that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
But Friday's at noon, right?
Yes.
So I won't be back.
You could always swing into my house too. And I can
Okay.
ride down. It's not a big deal. Or call me or email me.
All right. Any other discussion on the FD? Moving on. Credit card processor. I got that right now. Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, after I find it.
Sorry. Credit card processor. So as you know, we've been getting hit with some fees the last several months. We have now switched to Community Bank, and with the new bank, we have potentially a new processor. We had a meeting with them. Their name's Elevon, which is actually a direct processor. So it's one of like 6 companies that are like remove every middleman and they actually do the processing. They do the town of Whitingham's. We had a call with them. There's no fees for us whatsoever from them. They charge the customer 2.65%, and that's it. They have a machine that they sent to us. We'll talk about potentially integrating with a new utility billing software, and it does integrate with them as well. We had Linda and myself did a demo with them. They seemed awesome. So we did sign up with them, just so you know, there's no cost.
What's the company?
It's Elevon.
And they're not associated with the bank or?
They are not associated. They work with Community Bank. That's Community Bank's recommended processor. But they are a credit card that is what they do, is credit card processing. So I have given notice already to M&T that we are obviously, I mean, I haven't told them we're not banking with them anymore, but I did tell them we're not going to do the credit cards with them anymore. So I'm waiting for that to close down. We have not done any processing in July. I've actually told, we've had one customer who's asked, and I said we're switching processors, and right now we're in between. And they've said that's fine as long as it's up by the 15th, which I think tomorrow it's going to be up by the sounds of it. We'll have the new processor in place. So it's pretty cool. All the fees are paid by the customer. And so we don't have any fees. What we take is what we actually get.
What's the percent to the?
2.65%. So we don't have any PUC issues with this because it's the processor itself taking the service charge instead of us. That was the big concern, is the Public Utility Commission really doesn't let you take anything more than what it actually costs. So we went really low. We went with 1.5% to make sure we covered and didn't make anything extra on any sale. So that's the processor update.
The audit for 2022 and 2023.
There you go, Ken. This is where you're gonna see the progress being made, 2022 and 2023.
Congratulations.
They haven't passed it yet. Don't say that. So you guys, I think everyone received the draft of this. And I read through it. I didn't see any issues. The 2023, the auditor gave it to me before they usually would. They normally would wait for it to go through final review, is what it's called, before sending it to us. But knowing we had really tonight to approve it, they wanted to make sure we got it in front of us. I don't see any issues with it. The 2022 audit, there were a few questions I had. I asked them and they clarified them. 2023 was much cleaner, obviously. And I did look through the list of journal entries we received this afternoon, and they all made sense to me. So we'll just need a motion to approve, probably individually on those.
I have some questions.
Sure. 2022 or 2023 or both?
Page 15 was 2023, I think.
Yeah.
It's a spelling, and it just baffles me that a professional organization can send out something like that. It's a spelling error, principal versus principal.
This one, correct? This page.
The real.
CIPLE.
Yep. It's PLE and it should be
Well,
PAL.
Yep, I see it.
And they're in the financial business, so I don't know why that. You see it?
Yep. That one, right?
Yeah.
Is that the only one on this? Did you see?
That's the only one I caught. Now, maybe this is just my understanding, but if you go back to page 12,
Same audit.
same one.
Yep.
You see the expired dates,
I noticed that.
Yeah.
aren't they 100 years off?
I noticed that, yeah.
I,
just glanced at it tonight just for a minute, Joe. I happened to see them.
well, the only question, this section might be a question for you, Ken. So in the audit, they have a list of resources, electrical supply resources. And they have the Fitchburg landfill HQ US contract and the Kruger hydro. I have never heard of any of those three. And they have retired dates in the 1930s. Are those accurate dates of 1930? Or are those active and should be 2030? 2030.
Those are all active.
Okay.
And they're contracts that we have on your behalf
Okay.
that run until the 2030s.
There's another one further down.
Oh yeah, and the 1932 one too.
Yeah.
Good catch. Very good catch.
Well, I didn't think we were a history lesson.
Well, it's funny because I was reading through them and I'm like, I've never heard of those, so I'm not. There are some that I've heard of, and there are many that I haven't.
Is the Rygate facility still current?
Rygate. It says 2021.
Did Rygate?
That's
Renewed?
still going. They actually had a contract just renewed with the legislature, so they got another 10 years. That should be 2031.
Yeah. Do you know where they pulled this information from? I mean, they must be pulling it from either old audits or, I mean, because I don't send them that.
My
can't
guess is it's a spreadsheet error because we normally track that in like an Excel spreadsheet. So it's probably
That's
a
what it looks
formula
like this.
somewhere that got.
Yeah. Okay. I will point that out to them. Again, it hasn't gone through that the audit review, which is actually they send. It sounds like my understanding is they send it to another auditor to go through and look at it. So a lot of these kinds of things get checked with that. And usually they do that before they send you a draft, but they didn't in this particular case just to try to get it in front of us.
Okay.
So I will mention that to them.
I just didn't want it to hold up.
Yep. No,
anything.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Good.
That's all I have from my snooping.
See if they changed.
Did the 2022 one get accepted? I'm interested in seeing if they made similar.
Yeah, 2022 did go through outside audit.
It looks like the dates are all right.
Yeah.
It did look kind of interesting in here because they had 22 and 23. You could see what happened. in
You
2
could
years.
see it. I know. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
I was doing that too. There were a few things that in the 2022 audit, I had given them feedback on a while back and they've updated it. Things that they were calling the trustee board, board of commissioners and things like that. Just little wording issues that seemed like they might have been from, they've just copied and pasted from audits year after year and just they were out of date. So little things like that have been updated, but for the most part, it looks pretty good.
Finding the 2022 audit.
You guys attached them both the same. I didn't send them to you.
No, I only have 2023.
Oh, I know what, because I gave them out paper copies at the last meeting. Yes, that's right.
You gave me who?
They were in the trustee packets of the last meeting. Oh, he's got one.
Which I don't
Yeah.
have.
Looks pretty.
Do you want me to pull it
Oh,
up?
that one. Okay, yeah. No, I have that. Yeah.
I can forward you the electronic copy, but you probably won't have time to read through it before you have to vote. And I'm sorry to kind of rush it on the audits. As you know, we have to submit the audits before we can do any rate case work or anything like that. That's
Well,
why.
is 2023 going to be approved tonight with corrections to be made or?
Correct. That would be the,
All right.
if we don't do that, we will need a special meeting in a couple weeks to approve it. I will let you know if there are other copies, there are any changes from the outside auditor, and let you know if there's a. Yeah, we've looked at this, well, I shouldn't say we've, as a board, we've had this in front of us,
Yeah.
for about a meeting and a half, I think.
Yeah. Draft wise and. The fall. Well, considering we discussed the 2023 more so than 2022, does someone want to make a motion to accept the 2023 with the changes?
I'll move that.
Someone want to second that?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
All right, the audit for 2023 has been accepted with suggestions. Now the 2022 audit. I make a motion that we accept the 2022 audit as written or proposed. Someone second that?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
All right, so that 2022 audit has been accepted as proposed.
And then just so you guys all know, the rate case is built off the 2023. So the 2023 was the one we needed to get completed. But you needed 2022 done in order to do 2023. So that's, we officially have the paperwork needed to do a rate case and to do a line of credit with the bank is also what this would be needed for. So.
All right, managers report.
So for the rate case, the current date that we are slotted to make our rate case, it was originally August 15th due to the fact that we did not have the finalized audits. At the last meeting, we really need a month and a half to put a rate case together. We did not have that in time to make August 15th. Steve at VEPSA has asked us to push it back to September 15th. I agreed that made sense. It gave us time to get everything in order, get the audits passed and updated, and then and be able to put the paperwork needed together. So September 15th is when we will file for the rate case with the Public Utility Commission. It takes about 6 months for that to for the PUC to review it and get back to us with what it is. There will be a decision to make after, Ken, is it after 30 days after submission where we can put the rate in effect if we wanted to, or is it more than that?
45 days from
45.
filing date, then you can start
So-
billing.
So after we file, but before we're approved, we have 45 days. After 45 days, we could start billing that amount. We will have to make a decision of, do we bill once we have that 45 days? Do we start billing that amount, knowing that the PUC could come back and say, no, we're only going to give you X% instead of the percentage you asked for, and then we have to give that back to the customer, credit back to their accounts. So just be aware that's a decision that we don't have to make right now, but we will have to make at some point. Is, do we want to do that? Do we want to do a partial? You cannot retroactively bill though. So if we decide we're not going to bill now, after 45 days, And then let's say January, they approve us for the full amount. We can't go back and say, oh, okay, now we're gonna bill our customers that back amount. You lose it, it's gone. So just be aware that's something that's coming.
And rate cases take, you said
Six months-ish. It's not a set date, a set amount of time. It's just, is that what you're seeing right now, Ken, is about 6 months?
Yeah, they're pretty quick. I think yours is simpler. We've had the 6 to 8 months with folks who had like debt service outstanding that their PUC was questioning. So I would say 6 months or a little less should be fine for you.
And Steve's been telling me, and I'm sure you're hearing this too, Kenneth, that they are being very good about rate cases lately, is what I've been hearing. They seem like they are understanding where utilities are right now and realizing we need to get caught up. So it seems like we might, we probably won't get approved for the full amount just because that seems to be the pattern, but it does seem like they are going well with rate cases. The other thing Steve told me is that they've also been accepting that we do need an emergency fund at times. So that money market, having $50,000 in it, he wasn't worried about that, which was nice to hear, because that was a concern I had. But he said the PUC has been much more willing to work with that than in past years. So that's been a worry that's been taken away from me on that. So I think we're in good position. Again, I don't know what we're going to be asking for yet. I know what Rod and I have discussed for tree trimming and things like that. So we have a lot of things that are in motion. So that, there's definitely some, we'll have to figure out where we're at on that. Steve will help us with that number. For AMI, so this is smart meters. We've discussed it a little bit already. I know, Jen, you don't want one on your house. So for these smart meters, it was advised by Steve that we make a decision on the smart meters before we go in for our rate case. It'll be $162,000 loan that we'll be paying on, and it'll be a known expense. So if we know we're going to do it, then we can include it in this year's rate case. If we don't do it, we're definitely going to have to go in for another rate case. If we decide in December we're going to do it, we'll need to go in for another rate case. So I did ask Ken to join us to go through this AMI a little bit, this project. I'm gonna pull out my phone because Amy sent me some numbers that I'm sure Ken will go through as well. But essentially the entire cost of the project is $309,785. The state has a grant that would pay $147,600 of it. So that loan amount that we would have, it's already approved through VEPSA. We would already have the loan for us, would be $162,180. So it's about 50% that they're paying for. My hunch is that, and I think you would probably agree with me on this, Rod, is that we're probably going to be forced to do it eventually anyway. It might be 10 years from now. It might be 50 years from now. I don't know when, but the state is likely going to move this direction. We're one of few utilities that don't have it right now. And so the question will be, is there going to be another grant, or is this our time we have 50% of it paid for and we should do it? Ken, do you want to add anything from this proposal? They do have the proposal, the executive summary sheet in front of them. But I want to make sure I include some time for you to speak on this if you had anything you want to add and highlight.
No, I think you described it well, James. I apologize. I'm getting some poor quality here, so I may have to shut my camera off to be able to keep speaking. But I think VEPSA went out when we first started looking at this project. It's been about 7 years since we started looking at this, and we ended up hiring Aclara Systems about 3 years ago to actually do the deployment for us. Aclara also has put systems in Vermont Electric Co-op. They use that, their system, and Washington Electric is deploying it right now as well. So they're slowly taking over the whole state with their meter technology, a little bit at a time. We went out and borrowed $4 million for working capital, again from Community Bank. It's interesting. They seem to be taking over municipal business slowly. And it included an ability to convert that working capital to 10-year fixed loans for any of the VEPSA member utilities that wanted to do so. So the information James described is a loan we have in hand. It's in escrow right now, and we're starting to use it for working capital. But any member that wants to turn that into a 10-year fixed loan has the ability to do so. Our rate is 5.28%. We expect eventually we may refinance that, but we know it won't be any higher than 5.28. And you're certainly able to get your own loan if you prefer to do it that way. And we're agnostic. The 50% or it's 47.5% grant is how it works out in detail. Just a little history on that. When we presented this project to all the members, we got a lot of pushback on the total cost. What we're finding is the cost of AMI deployment isn't changing. It's about the same as it was 7 years ago, but we're finding the capabilities have increased quite a bit. So most of the members were expecting, because we didn't put it in earlier, you would see the cost of the equipment come down. That's not actually what's happening. The cost is stable, but they're packing more into the meters. It can do more. So in order to get the cost down, we actually went to the legislature, had a pretty tough effort to get some money allocated out of the state general fund. And the $5 million came out of that effort. So it's to the question of whether you'll get a grant again. I think it's highly unlikely that money will come available in the future. The federal government, we've looked at loans there, and they've basically told us AMI is considered a standard piece of equipment now. So they're not, the feds usually fund like cutting edge technologies, and they're not even considering paying for AMI anymore. And the legislature in Vermont, we managed to get this one-time effort. So once our project closes, that money's going to go away, and I wouldn't anticipate getting funding again. To your
Pat,
point
what's-
about,
Sorry, what's the timeline right now? Are you on your timeline for the other projects, the other municipalities? Do you think, like, I think we had talked about it probably late winter, early spring for Jacksonville, is if we were to sign on. Is that still looking at the right timeline?
yeah, we're in the middle of design right now. So the meter configurations of how that's going to collect data, the locations of the collection points, that's all being worked out as we speak. We're going to most likely be having a meeting in the next week or two to finalize those meter configurations. And at that point, we'll place the order for the first couple of utilities. So Swanton and Orleans have offered to be the guinea pig. So we're going to use them to work out the kinks. But right on their heels, we'd be able to move forward with other folks as soon as we're sure that the meters are doing what we want them to do. Overall project is about 3 years. We're moving forward a couple of utilities at a time. We anticipate the last ones to go will be 3 years out. And that's how much time we have for our grant without going through an extension type process.
So do you agree with Steve that it makes sense for us to include it in this rate case if we're thinking we're 3 years out potentially? Or do you think they're going to hit us and say, no, you can't really include that, you come back in 2 years?
No, I think I mean, they're doing everything they can to encourage us to move forward. Your point about they're going to force you to do eventually, I think is valid. They're trying to get all the roadblocks out of the way to
Yeah.
get us to move voluntarily so they don't have to order things to happen.
Yeah.
There are 4 utilities in the state that haven't decided to move forward yet. Yourselves, which, you know, you're discussing it. Barton, their previous board of trustees said no. They have a brand new entire board. The entire board turned over. The new board wants to do it. So I'm actually meeting with them next month to talk about having them sign. Hardwick, who said no initially, but they've got me going in August to talk to them about reconsidering. They're probably going to join the project. And then the only other one is Hyde Park, who is not a VEPSA member. And as far as I know, they have no plans to implement. So they'll probably be the ones that get told they have to do it at the very end. As far as the rate case goes, I think you're better off if you think you're going to do it, you're better off to get the funding in early and include it in their rate case. And then if the deployment slides a little bit, you're collecting the funds to make sure you've got them to pay the bills, rather than being on the other side where you try to deploy and then collect the money after. I think you end up in a worse. But your numbers are accurate. With the loan, you'd be looking at somewhere around $28,000 a year total cost for the first 10, and then it would drop by about 10,000 from there.
So does that mean we should vote on this meeting because it's a rate case?
So we don't need it this meeting. We do need it at next meeting if we don't vote on it this meeting. That would essentially in order to make the rate case. If you don't want to vote at this meeting, I'm fine with it. I would ask for maybe a directional, like we're thinking we're going that direction so that I can give Steve, but when we go to file the rate case, we need a board minutes that say, yes, we're moving that direction. That's really all we need. But if you guys are thinking, no, definitely don't do this, definitely voice that now, because I will make sure we don't head that direction. Otherwise, I'll probably plan to include it and then just wait for here's the piece of paper that says, yes, we approved it.
I mean, I have reservations and concerns about it, but I do also see that it's gonna be inevitable at some point, so
You have reservations from a customer perspective? Yeah. So one thing you should be aware, you do not have to, as a customer, do it. Any customer can still opt out. It's the utility itself that has to do it, has to offer it. And I've talked to Rod about this. I've talked to Richard about this. I don't anticipate us moving Richard or changing anything he does. We still need somebody to drive the lines. He drives 3 days a month, so I don't see that changing.
So, but isn't there some sort of, the way that we bill needs to be universal or something, and with the smart meters, that kind of throws some sort of wrench in the mix as far as people who opt out and those who get smart meters.
So my understanding from the AMI training I went to with VEPSA was essentially there's a platform that you sign into that has the AMI readings, the information, and we can actually give customers access to that account as well who have the AMI, the smart meters. We would then somehow, I'm not sure exactly how this works, but download that information and then we would upload it or somehow get that into NIMRIC if we're still on NIMRIC at the time, to get it into the billing. So at this point, I don't see integration between the two.
Yeah.
There'd be two separate pieces of software. So instead of Richard going out and, typing it, or writing down each meter, it would come in, instead of having meter books, it would come in through a software.
Right. Well, I was just, I think it was at a meeting that Ken came and we were talking specifically about the smart meters, but wasn't there like preferred time as far as like, this is when I'm going to be using the most power?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't have it in place, but one of the reasons the state wants these meters put in is because then utilities can do what they call time of use rates. And you can charge people different on peak versus off peak. So you could maybe charge 20 cents during the day and 8 cents at night.
Yeah.
You can't do that with a standard utility meter today that just has how many kilowatt hours you used in a month. So that would, and what James described is accurate. Under state law, you have to let any customer that doesn't want to have an AMI meter opt out. You have to do that at no charge. So they can keep their existing meter. It doesn't cost them any different than if they took an AMI meter. The only difference is the customer would not be able to take advantage of time of use rates without having that AMI meter installed.
So essentially, they're going to pay the higher rate,
Yeah.
whatever it is. That's what they're going to pay.
We'll still have a monthly kilowatt hour rate. So they'll pay a flat dollar per kilowatt hour for everything they use. It may be a little bit higher than a customer who's able to manage their load and shut things off during the day. Those folks will be able to save money just because they can move their usage around, where the person who opts out won't be able to take advantage of that.
All right. So, but that doesn't like, because the customer's opting out, that like takes the liability off of the company's back.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think from our,
So I'm gonna add another positive, if the system gets integrated with Green Mountain Power's dispatch, here a couple weeks ago, we had two calls for people that had power that called in and said they didn't have power, and it cost us a lot of money. And we're not talking hundreds, guys, we're talking thousands. And so if this system is put implemented into where they could call up and they could ping their meter and say, well, according to our records, you've got power because your meter is pinging, okay? And so this might be a positive for us to get rid of some of this, people just calling up because, we sent a crew out and it's their breaker in their solar, see? So that's a positive with this, with these smart meters, is they'll be able to, get on there and just say, wait a minute, we show that your neighbor's working and you got power here, so maybe you better check. And that gets rid of these calls of 2 linemen at midnight at double time at 3-4 hours and 4 coffee breaks and 6 breakfasts and all that other stuff. But no, we had, like I say, 2 weeks ago, we had 2 calls in 1 week for it was customer issues. So that's a positive thing. And then from what I understand, some of these you can disconnect your customers through the system.
It's easier to do.
I assume
Yes.
that's part of the build, right? You're including
All-
remove disconnect.
Yeah, so to those points, all of the residential meters have what they call remote disconnect. So you'll be able to do the disconnects right from the office, not have to drive out to the customer site. And to the Raw's description about GMP, there's a couple of ways there. You can do on-demand reads of the meters, so that pinging you can do yourself. You can have GMP do it. And we're actually working with Northfield right now because they have a similar arrangement with GMP as what you do. They want us to actually incorporate the outage signal that the meter sends. So if the meter loses power, it sends a signal back saying, "Hey, I've lost power. Something's wrong." We're working with Northfield to incorporate that directly into GMP's SCADA system. So they'll be able to get a direct notice of which customers are out or not out. And that's another way they can check if the customer's calling, but the meter's reporting it's still got power. Then right out of the SCADA system, they can say they don't need to go.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's huge.
Huge.
Back to the finance, I just want to get it straight in my mind, in my head. You have legislation, the legislation gave you, the legislature gave you money to use as grant. 47.5% of that is grant money to go to the towns. Okay.
Yes.
So the town can get 47.5% of the cost through that grant fund. And you, it's filtered through you, correct? It's funneled through you.
Right. So the way this played out is we went to the legislature and told them the total cost projection for all of the VEPSA members to do this project was roughly $10.2 million. That's all 11 utilities we work with. And we asked them to fund 50% of that. Well, you might imagine when we did it, all the other utilities that were thinking about upgrading or installing, they went and said, hey, we want part of that too. So the legislature actually allocated $8 million toward across all of the utilities in the state. They gave that money to the Department of Public Service, the DPS, to manage. The Department of Public Service issued an RFP for grant proposals, which we submitted to. And after reviewing all the applications, they allocated of the $8 million they got, they gave us $5 million to use toward the VEPSA member system. So if you take 5 million divided by 10.2, it's roughly 47.5% that we can cover. And then within VEPSA, we basically took that 5 million and spread it across the costs for each member. So those who have a bigger territory, a bigger AMI cost, they got more of the grant funding. As your cost comes down, we allocated less. So that everybody gets their cost bought down by that 47%.
Now that's based on meters. Is that based on meters?
It's based on dollars because there's several components to the cost. You've got the meters themselves. You have these data collection units, which Jacksonville, we're estimating, would have 12 locations around your territory where we'd basically put a radio antenna on one of your poles, and the meters report back to that. And then there's some software cost to manage the software where we can log in and get data and send it to the billing. There's a whole process of standing that up. So there's various components that lead to the total $309,000 in your case. But the grant itself was allocated based on total dollar cost and your share of the total project.
Now with this fiber that they're running down here now, this high-speed internet, would that work in conjunction with that? Because sometimes you got to get your communication, your database back to Jacksonville or back to, would that play a role in this particular setup, or would they be relying on consolidated?
It's very likely to play a role. What we're finding is in a lot of places we end up using cell phone, AT&T or Verizon. Where you have fiber, that's preferred. And it's really up to Jacksonville if you want consolidated or DV fiber or what the preferred vendor is. That's your choice. What'll happen if you go forward is Aclara will send a person down to go with you, probably with you, Rod, to go around the system. We've got estimates of where those collection locations have to be, but they'll want to actually visit the pole and identify. It's almost like make ready work you did for DV fiber. They want to look at, is this pole good for putting the antenna on? Can we get the space we need? Is fiber there? And then they'll determine what we're going to use for communication in each one of those locations.
Okay, good.
Now, what else do we have for make ready on that? I think you said that a power supply needs to be set up to those at those poles for connection up there.
Yep.
Is there any other make ready for the meters themselves, or like what do we as Jacksonville Electric have for work to be done for this?
Yeah, so the initial work, what'll come first is the putting in those data collection units, and you need a 120 volt available at the location. So if you have a transformer nearby you can tap, that's fine. If you don't, you might have to put one up at the location to get power. For the meters themselves, they go into the normal socket. You just pull the existing meter out, put the new one in. What we find though is there are a portion of the meter sockets that are rusted or something. So when you change the meter out, I wouldn't say it's often, but you occasionally find that, voltage issues or things crop up because these new meters you're putting in are going to measure kilowatt hours, kVARs, so reactive power, and they'll measure voltage. So if there's any problem that's been at that location that you haven't seen, because power may still be going, but it's rusted or something, all of a sudden you'll see that. So there may be some work that has to be done there with the meter sockets themselves as you're doing the transfers. And we're going to try to collect data.
Technically, hang on, there was a question about if that's our responsibility. And technically a meter socket is a customer's responsibility. So if there's an issue with the meter socket, we as a board can decide how we want to handle that. Do we want to put it on the customer, or do we want to offer to help the customer? But that's a decision we'll have to make. That's not covered as part of the grant work. Is that correct, Ken, on the grant portion of that?
We included a $5,000 allocation for each utility for socket type events. But the way you described it is correct. I mean, normally that would be a customer issue. Where you run into trouble is once you identify there's a problem there, then technically you can't really serve them because there's a safety issue that you may not have known about before. So depending on what you're seeing and if the person, low income or something, you may want to help them out. So we tried to put some money in there so you can weigh in and provide some support if you feel like you need to. But generally that would be the customer's responsibility. The only other piece of this that may get a little make ready-ish is we want to make sure we capture GPS information and location data when the meters are exchanged. So part of our GIS project, we're actually talking to Empower right now. That's the vendor we use for the GIS project. They have software they can load on your tablets you would normally use for GIS, which allows you to capture the meter number, the location, and all as the transfer happens. So there will be some training involved in making sure we get you set up properly to do that transition. But that's pretty much all the work on your side. The CIS integration, we've got consultants that will help you. So we'd want to work with NEMREC or whoever you go to if you replace them. And then we work with that company in Aclara to make sure that the handoff for billing and everything happens correctly. So there's some integration work on the software side as well. But you guys are with NEMREC, there's 4 other utilities using that. So you're probably not going to be the first one to go through the integration pain. We'll mostly be copying over what we did with somebody else.
You don't have the agenda in front of you, but we're hoping to not be with NEMREC before that.
Okay.
They don't know that yet, though. That's later in the agenda.
So does someone want to make the motion to approve or to table until next meeting? The AMI. The rate case.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Someone second that?
Second that motion.
All in favor?
I'd like more time
Aye.
to review, but. I'll just abstain, I guess.
I'll say aye. Want to, the AMI, meeting there. Including the AMI into the rate case has been approved.
So we have approval to move forward with the AMI project. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. The next thing, we have a meeting next Wednesday, I believe it is, with the GIS team that we were actually just talking about. VEPSA has a outside contractor that has been helping with that integration process. And part of what he's been doing with some of the utilities has been helping with tree trimming plans. Now, as we go in for our rate case, what Steve had told me is it really helps to have a tree trimming plan in place that you can present. We need this much in order to be able to maintain this plan. And they said, if you have a very defined, this is what you're doing each year, it really does help with the rate case to be able to say, you know, we need this money because this, otherwise we're going to be behind. We can show you here on paper. So we are working on a tree trimming plan that would cover, what did we say, 13 miles?
No, 7.
7 miles.
7 miles a year.
7 miles a year would put us at a 5-year cycle. So every 5 years, we would begin trimming over again. That is a very, very good, my understanding from what everybody I've talked to about it, that's an awesome plan to be in place. So our meeting next week is to discuss what those sections are. How do we split up 7 miles? Now, you're probably wondering why I'm coming to you with this. Essentially, to do 7 miles, we estimated to be about $12,000 a mile. That's based on what we're currently paying tree trimming companies. We just had one do some work up by Bernard Road. So for a day's worth of work, it was $2,600, and he covered X amount of X percentage of a mile. So we figured it out based on that. It comes out to about $12,000 a mile. Multiply that through by your 7, and you're looking at about $150,000 a year in tree trimming expenses. So I'm bringing that to you so that you guys know. Currently, we spend about 50,000 if we're lucky. I think there's been some question about, are we spending too much, too little? This really, I think, clarifies it. I'm not asking you to approve $150,000 right now, but I do want to include it in the rate case because I think that that's what's going to get us in a position to really be able to handle what we need to do for tree trimming. And Rod and I mean, we drove around today, and we saw trees that need to be cut down, and we have to say no because we don't have the budget, honestly. So we're picking and choosing the trees that we're cutting. We have areas that we're kind of prioritizing, and so we're just falling behind. I know Rod's been telling you guys all this for years. So we're putting the fires out, hopefully keeping some of the lights on. No. But it is something I do want to include $150,000 or whatever is recommended from whatever we decide next week into the rate case with the plan. So I just don't want you guys to be surprised by that when we bring that in as well. Because that's, and Green Mountain, what's Green Mountain Power give us?
They told us 10 to 12,000 per mile, but according to Dale, he said he thinks that's
Underestimated.
it's underestimated. That's a whitewash thing that they send to the state. I'm going to use 112. Three of you live on 112. I'm going to use 112 as an example, but it's probably a mile from the Jacksonville Village to the foot of 8A, and I think 18 or 20 spans. But out of that, there's only about 5 full spans of tree trimming, because right out here there's nothing. And whole down here across the flat by my office and everything down here, there's no tree trimming. There's down by Ray Boyd's, there's nothing. So what we did is we think that's 50 some miles of line the village has, and I didn't go around and calculate it out per every span, but I said a third of it is farmland, fields, that light trimming. So I didn't incorporate that into it, and that's where I come up with the 7 miles of heavy trimming versus, if you were going to go light trimming and you wanted to do actually 10, then it would be 10 miles a year in a 5-year plan. But if you get rid of a lot of fields and course road over there in Whitingham, I mean, the first 5 or 6 spans, there's nothing up through there. So that's how we came up with the 7 miles, and the 7 miles would be heavy tree cutting. One thing, another thing we're trying to do, we haven't had much luck yet. I know Jim has put part of the contract that Jacksonville Electric has with Consolidated, signed in 1983 by Ernie Behrens. Each utility is supposed to take care of their own tree trimming, except danger trees or overhanging hazard trees or danger trees. They would, in agreement, they would pick up 50%. So what we've been doing now is going around and taking pictures of trees that need to come down and sending it to them, and then get them to authorize that they'll pick up the tab for cutting these trees. They've agreed on a few of them, but we haven't seen any money yet. So
They've agreed, we've billed, and
Yeah.
we've got one from April that we sent, and we haven't been paid for
So
it yet. So
we, to give you how good they are, 2 years ago when Kyle was here, I spent a month figuring out exchange notices for new poles that we put in that they owe us money on, and we haven't heard nothing from them. We made some this winter, we heard nothing of them, but we had a car accident on Route 100 here 3 weeks ago over by Dana Dix's, and we got the exchange notice from them already, because that was their pole. See,
But
so
notice it's
they're
not,
billing us, but we ain't hear nothing from them for a year. So
but I will tell you, it is not in this payables for paying that. So we're gonna hold on to that invoice until I see a check from at least April,
So-
before we pay anything to them.
So we're trying to incorporate some of that into some of our danger trees. I don't know how we're gonna make out. Last fall, we did a bunch. I put the whole thing together, sent it to them, and they said, "Oh, we gotta look at them first. We're not paying it." So our bad. We cut the trees because they need to be cut. So now we're taking pictures of them, and hopefully they're gonna agree to it. And they have a few of them, a couple there we've got. So, I mean, I don't think that's a game changer in the tree cutting bid that we should have out, or the tree cutting budget. But do keep in mind that we should be able to get some reimbursement for them on some of this, but as of now, nothing's come in the door. So, and do you find that with some of your other utilities, with Consolidated? Are they up front with working with them on stuff like that, or am I asking you a loaded question?
You're not unusual, Rod. I just last month had a conversation with Barton where Consolidated wants to put in fiber because they're trying to get ahead of NEK fiber up there, the CUD, and but they weren't paying any of the bills. They were getting the make ready work done, but they weren't paying any invoices, and it took Barton literally saying we're stopping work to shake them enough to, they actually paid a couple of the back bills. So you're seeing it everywhere with Consolidated. I'm not sure what's going on with them.
I had to threaten First Light, Sovereignnet. I had to threaten to report them to the PUC for stealing access to our polls before they sent me a check.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
They haven't paid years.
they just paid everything.
They did.
Yep, because I told them I was going to report them. I said, you're not paying it. They've known about it for months and they haven't paid. So I said, you know what? I'll report that you're using our polls for nothing.
Did they pay the
Gotcha.
tax too?
What? Yeah,
Well, good.
$7,300. It's in the mail.
So we're moving from a budget of 50,000 a year to 100,000 a year. What does it cost us by operating at 50,000? What does that cost us on the other side?
A lot
In
of
emergencies,
emergencies.
So right now,
estimate,
I could,
ballpark.
we spent last year $116,000 for Green Mountain Power for the year.
Okay.
So, I mean, half of that is probably BS calls, to be honest with you. But the problem is we're not keeping up right now. So in 3 years, the cost of us spending $50,000 right now is probably going to make that Green Mountain Power bill go to $300,000.
Okay.
And then
that's
you're
my
looking
point.
at
That it's preventive maintenance.
right.
Yes, there you go.
And Green Mountain Power, for them to show up to a call is about $1,500.
How much did we pay last year?
116,000. And they don't, a lot of the problem right now is Green Mountain Power has young guys who are apprentices. So what's happening is when we call and say we need something here, they'll send the apprentices in one truck and then they'll send another truck with the journeyman. And so then you're paying a rate of 4 or 5 guys to do work that really 1 truck and 2 guys could have done. But that they're young and they really need a journeyman there because you can't do it without it. So that we're running into that a lot. We saw it at Ginny Morse Road. We've seen it several different places, and it's just, I mean, there's nothing Green Mountain Power is doing maliciously as a company, in my opinion. It's just the nature of how the industry is right now. And
What we're trying to do is cut down on the small, those, you know.
Yep.
Those, I don't know what you would call them, run of the mill, no, outage calls that people have power. Or we had a situation last Friday. I was up at the pit working and James come up and he said, he got a call from Alan Hadley. There was a low service wire from Marty Shopman's house up there. So I come down and looked at it and it was down to where if a log truck come along, they'd rip it off. So I came down, grabbed the bucket truck, went up with a ladder, fixed it. I charged you guys an hour for my time. If Green Mountain Power to come down would have cost you over $1,000 just to have them fix that service. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get ahead of the curve on this stuff. And it's going to take time. You're still going to have those malicious calls. You can't get away from them. But if we can take some of this stuff and with the tree trimmer, the danger trees or stuff like that, and get ahead of this, it's going to help you on your bottom end, or your
Well, that scenario that you just gave was what you've been wanting to work on with improving the lines, and that's the next one that needs to be.
Yes, but tree trimming is part of that.
But
yes, improving the line.
And that's something we're gonna, the improving the lines is something we have to figure out how to include in the rate case. And that's something we're gonna have to talk to Steve about, because everything else, we have a plan. This is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna put it together. Improving the lines, I'm at a loss right now. I'm sure we'll figure it out. Now that we have the ability to move forward with the rate case, that'll be a focus. The next thing one thing we're finding is with the work we're doing, where we have the 3 guys out doing maintenance, doing repairs, doing upgrades. We are finding that we are in need of radios to communicate to each other. Sometimes we need to go to, it's cut out in one area and then be able to measure voltage in another area, something like that. And you just aren't within yelling range of each other. And so that's something I'm going to be looking at. I have a guy in North Adams, the fire department in Whitingham works with, that does some radios. And so just as a heads up, that's something that we're taking a look at right now. We did let our FCC license lapse when we used to have the radio in the truck. So that we no longer have. We are looking into the potential of using the town frequency, the highway department's frequency, for us to be able to use it for the once a week for an hour or two that we're doing this. You know, it's not much. So that's something we're looking into, as opposed to having to buy an actual license, you know, radio frequency for us alone. But that's something in the works we're figuring out. So just as a heads up on that. The other thing, we have an oil pre-buy. I'm not sure what we've done in the past, but from Guy Nido, pre-buy is $3.49, $3.49.9. Budget program of $3.65. We have used historically 222 gallons, 223 gallons. So I'm not sure if we've historically pre-bought, if anybody's interested in that. That's something, I don't know what we've done. You know what we've done in the past?
I don't think we pre-buyed.
Those prices to me don't seem like it's worth pre-buying, but I figured I'd mention it. And so a year. So the only thing we use the heat, so we have electric heat in the office, and then the oil is only the back and the truck garage. And Rod and I have been discussing ways of maybe keeping that a little cooler to not use.
I don't care.
I'm hoping to be more like 100 gallons.
I'm in Florida.
Because we're only heating a truck that's used once a week. So I'm hoping to kind of cut that back a little bit. But we'll see what we can do.
For that little bit of oil, I don't think it makes a difference whether you do pre-buy.
I don't think so either.
My recommendation is just buy a tank in the following year, fill up the tank and call it good.
Yeah, that's kind of where I've been. I just wanted to make sure there hasn't been a historical precedent on that.
Credit next year, I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't go bad.
True.
So the next thing is, so as Ken had mentioned, there's utility billing software. We currently use Nimerick. So Nimerick we use for utility billing. We use it for accounts payable. We use it for payroll, and we use it for the general ledger. So those are the four pieces we use Nimerick for. Nimerick, just to give a little bit of background for utility billing purposes, that utility billing software, there are currently, I believe, 3 companies that use it. We are one of the 3. So just to give some perspective, it's not their forte. They don't want to do it anymore. If you talk to them, they don't want to do utility billing. They do support it currently, just because we have 3 Vermont companies that use it, but it's a pretty low priority. So VEPSA has done some digging to try to find a software that would replace just the utility billing side of Nimerick. So we would still have accounts payable, we'd still have payroll, and we'd still have general ledger with Nimerick, but we'd have a new utility billing software. It's called El Dorado. It's by Creative Solutions, and they specialize in utility billing software. That's what they do. We had a demo with the other utilities that we actually is a utility. Orleans, I believe, uses it currently. And they also have Nimerick as one of their, for the other side of it, not for the utility billing. So it's kind of the situation we're talking about doing. Every utility that was on the demo, all 3 of us want to go down the road of switching to this new software. It's a great software. We give customers a login where they could go in and see their information. They could sign up for auto pay. They can make payments. They could do kind of everything. It does integrate with the new credit card software that we're switching over to, the Elevon. I want to ask you, Ken, do you know anything about it right now? I know Crystal's taking a lot of the work on it. Do you know, like, if it integrates with the Clara? I'm assuming it does. I don't think we would do it otherwise, but
Yeah, I know enough to be dangerous, but yeah, Crystal reported to me that everybody that was sat on the demo thought it was very good. We were surprised they actually have like 4,000 customers or something. It's bigger company than we anticipated. And Jackie Lemmerher, who is helping us do the integrations with Aclara, she sat in on the demo as well and came away. We've confirmed that it does integrate. And her belief, we've got some further digging to do, but she thinks that software would bring some other functionality with Aclara that Nemrick wouldn't give you if you just stayed with that software.
so Aclara, just updated, but the Aclara is the smart meters. That's the software that would send the information. So when we take a meter reading, it would directly go into the utility billing software and allow us to create the bill. The bills would be right there created with that information. It would literally remove any human error of typing in a meter reading. In the meantime, before we get smart meters, it does allow for it has an iPad app. I've talked to Richard about being able to go around and use the iPad to do meter readings. So that would eliminate. So currently we do our meter readings with a book. They come in here, Linda types them in on the computer. So there's the reading of the meter and Linda typing in the computer are two human error areas. We could remove one of them by not having Linda have to type it in. And so that was exciting thing. The one thing that they're still trying to figure out is the net metering. The company said that they are capable of handling all of the net meter situations, but they need to have their software developers actually build it. So that's something we're kind of waiting on what that looks like. We have all the other utilities have water and electricity. We're the only utility that's considering this that's just electric. And water is apparently more complicated than electricity, which I have a hard time believing, but apparently it is. And so we have actually been asked to be the guinea pig on this one, which is interesting. And the thought is that we could integrate. We have 17 customers who are net metering currently. We may need to use Nemrick in the meantime for those 17 customers. But the thought is the customer experience, and Linda even agreed with this, which if you don't know Linda agreeing to a technology is pretty unusual. She even said the customer experience that would be from El Dorado would be so improved that it would be worth those 17 customers and being entered manually or whatever we have to do to make it so it would work in the meantime. Cost is probably the big thing. They are working on the actual finalized figures, but we are looking at a one-time installation fee of around $2,300. So that's $2,300 one time for installation.
Say that again, sorry.
Installation fee or setup fee of $2,300. An annual cost of about $2,400. So $200 a month. And so, I mean, when I asked about this, I was like, that doesn't seem right. Like that number is super low. And they said that's what their goal is to offer a low cost for small utilities solution. And they're working on, now that we've had the meetings and had the conversations about net metering, they're going to work on this and make sure that that's still what they can provide. But I think that that's probably an accurate number. And that would get us transitioned over And the I mean, it's leaps and bounds better than what we get with Nimerick. And then what would happen is we would have a one-time, like once a day or once a week. Actually, Orleans suggested once a week. You do your utility billing payments. You do it as a batch once a week, and move that over into Nimerick as a once a week. You do a deposit into your bank account. You would physically every day get a deposit, but to show in Nimerick where you're getting the general journal entry that shows this is where you receive the money. They said do that once a week. Then you know if checks have cleared and done all their things like that. And so they said that you essentially have 4. When you do your reconciliation, you have 4 deposits instead of every day a deposit. Obviously, you still have to reconcile against the actual individual records that are going in otherwise, but that would be, a separate reconciliation, which would make things a lot easier. The other thing is it would automatically send disconnect notices based on time that's been overdue, as well as any notices about needing to, that you're late or whatever. So those are automatic. That Linda wouldn't have to spend hours putting together disconnect notices. They would automatically be built based on software and sent. And the other thing is they do offer for 30 cents a bill, folding and mailing option. So for Linda and I to not need to do it for, I think it's $180, we could have bills mailed out from the company. We don't have to touch it. I don't know if we're going to do that, but that's something that it's nice to know there's an option. If for some reason Linda's out and we can't do it and we need to just send the bills, it's a nice option to have. All the other utilities said hands down they're going to do it. I'm a little bit more like, I think that's an easy $180 we can save, but we'll see. We have the option either way. So again, it's hard for me to, I know it's hard from a from your perspective to just make a decision to yes, go ahead. I would like the direction that we can move forward with this, with doing a potential trial on this as the guinea pig. I don't think it's going to be within this month, but I'd like at least your direction that we can start looking at this and continuing to pursue it. It's definitely something we're interested in doing. Nimerick is not working for us. I think most of you have heard that or know that by now. It is a very clunky software, very difficult to work with. And I think this would free up a lot of Linda's time to focus on things that actually need to be done, and would definitely make it more streamlined for our customers.
Yeah, just having the net metering, which I think is done by Steve.
Correct.
And if that could be taken off of Steve's plate,
This
I
would,
think it would
Yeah.
give us more control. Net metering is, from my understanding, a complicated situation because there are grandfathered in rates that don't, they don't, you have.
Every year it changes.
multiple rates for one customer. They're doing solar arrays at different times, et cetera, et cetera. So just for that reason, I like it. And I think if you guys all found it to be from the demos, and it wasn't just this office, it sounds like it was,
it was, I think it was 4 utilities,
Utilities.
3 utilities, and then Orleans was there as somebody who's using it.
and the cost is amazing.
The cost is incredible.
I don't-
It also puts us in VEPSA in a better place to provide support if people change, because if we've got 4 utilities all going to the same software, using it kind of pretty much the same way, it's easier to
that
provide
makes
support.
sense too. Yeah.
And I think the month, you said it's $200 a month, James?
Yeah, it's $2,400 a year, so it comes out to about $200 a month. I anticipate it's an annual cost that we would just pay once a
Yeah.
year based on that amount. I can't imagine they're gonna make us pay monthly on that. But
Yeah.
Right.
I was
Annual licensing, but they just pay it.
to Jennifer's point, I think if you got VEPSA out of doing the net metering, that savings would pay for the software.
the other question we don't know, there, I guess Crystal has had a conversation from Barton's perspective about talking to Nimerick about possibly getting out. I have not had that conversation. I don't want to have that conversation until we're ready. But I mean, I don't know, there may be a potential savings there too. If we're not using a part of that, we probably will take some savings from that.
You usually pay per module,
Exactly.
so
I think we currently pay about $6,000 a year
Yeah.
for total for Nimerick.
higher than that. Okay,
And I think utility billing is probably a big portion of that because of the support they need to provide.
yeah.
So I don't know the estimate of what we could potentially save, but we saw this opportunity. They asked us to be a guinea pig, and I was like, I don't think Jacksonville gets asked to be the guinea pig very often. And I think from our customers' perspective, this is huge.
The only thing that concerns me, they sounded like they were confident to be able to build it, but they were throwing it right at the developers, like,
Yep.
oh yeah, we can do it. Well, that's the salesperson saying we can do it. And then the developer's like,
So we're currently in hold. We're not.
Make sure.
So what's happening is we have Crystal had a call with the developer last week, I believe it was, to discuss and show them some of our bills. One of the bills they wanted to show was purchase, where it's group commercial. So she showed them that. The developers are taking it back. They said it's a 3-month build process. So they did acknowledge they could do it. What Crystal has asked me to do is be the guinea pig, but we're going to wait until the developers come back and show us we've made progress towards it. So it's not a next, I'm going to call them tomorrow and say, yeah, we're a guinea pig, let's start. It's probably next month before we do that. And then it's going to, even at that point, they still need to integrate. We're probably looking at 2 months before we actually do this, but it's just starting the process and making our way towards that. I think it's going to be huge.
Give you a motion.
Sure, I'll take it. I don't think it hurts.
So, does someone want to make a motion to
Begin the exploration process of moving
for
forward.
exploration into using El Dorado for utility billing?
Move that.
Someone second
I'm
that?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's pass that Jacksonville Electric.
I did warn you guys it was gonna be a long meeting, right?
Yeah.
So
Begin exploration into using El Dorado for utility billing.
bathroom break. Does anyone want take a break for a
I'm
second?
just gonna get a water. Can I get one for anyone?
You know where they are in the fridge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank God.
So with the thought that we are going to probably have a utility billing software in the next, let's say, 3 months, that is going to have a website link to pay bill. It comes back to, I think, one of the questions you guys had when I was hired, which is, should we have a website? This would make it so we definitely should have a website, other than the fact that we should have a website. So I have built an RFP, request for proposals, to send out to web developers to ask them to help us build a fairly basic website. This RFP is included in your packet. Essentially, I anticipate a website of this size, we're looking between $7,000 and $10,000 to build. It's a pretty basic website. It's about 6 or 7 pages probably. I'm actually modeling it after Hardwick's website is what I am looking at. It's a pretty basic, easy website. Obviously, design wise will be different, but it'll just have, you know, your basic information about my account, the tariffs and forms, safety, vegetation management, board, and contact. Those are your pages essentially. My account would just link to, if we go with El Dorado, it would link to El Dorado. Report an outage, you know, just gives basic information, nothing crazy, nothing super heavy design, but this is kind of what I'm envisioning. It's clean, it's easy, and it'll work for us. As I said, 7 to 10,000. That might be an overestimate. I'm hoping maybe it's a little less than that. I have a couple of web developers that I have worked with in the past that I sent this RFP to and asked, you know, is this something you'd be interested in bidding? They are interested in it, and are interested in it. And they didn't seem to deny about what I included. This would allow for me or Linda or Mary Lee to make updates. It's not something we would need them to make constant updates. I anticipate you're probably looking at $600 to $800 a year in hosting fees and making updates that might be more complicated than what we have. But this would include them doing the actual design work with us, us saying this is the colors we want, this is what we would like the look and feel to be, as well as the actual build and having a CMS, a content management system for us to make the updates. This RFP is the same model I used for the sidewalk project as well. So that's what we've, you know, kind of established as our RFP. It does require $1 million worth of liability and coverage. But I did include that because that's not really an industry norm. So I did include that's flexible given the nature of the project. So this one, I would like, if you are okay with it, I would like to request for proposals. This is a non-binding proposal, so people can come back to us with their proposals and we can say, you know what, we're not doing any of them. But this would allow us to send it out, find out what it would cost us and figure out where we're at. So that's, I request that we can put that out there.
Can I ask you a question
Yeah.
about your website? Are you gonna be able to, new customer wants,
Yeah.
like the guy we met the other day up on Kentfield Road, he wants to, person wants power, can they go on
Yep.
this website and then they can get under new services and download an application?
Yeah, that's
The
my hope.
instructions to fill it out, then they could fill it out and then send it back in or whatever.
Exactly.
Is that gonna be
Yep.
something that,
Yeah, there's two different ways we can do it. We can actually put the application as a PDF and they
Okay.
print it out and mail it. I would lean more towards a form where they actually fill it out online and hit submit. And that comes into us via email because we get a lot of people that are from Connecticut who aren't here or are looking to buy a house. And so I'm hoping to do it as a form, but that's really going to be up to the developer and cost.
I'm thinking of the new line.
yes,
extensions.
100%.
People.
Yeah.
So all customers would have a portal to this website.
So all customers would have a portal to El Dorado, what we just talked about, the utility
Yep.
billing software. This where it says my account here would link to El Dorado. That's where they would log in. In forms and tariffs, this is where you would have line extension application.
There you go.
And so here they do it as a PDF where you download it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to do it as a form, but again, cost wise, you might just need to do it this way.
Google Forms work.
We can do Google Forms potentially, yep. And the other thing with line extensions is they actually have a $250 deposit. So we would have to figure out some way of making a payment when you hit submit
Yep.
too. So again, that it might just be a PDF that somebody
But
prints
they might be
off.
able to
And
build that too.
Exactly.
Right in there.
it just depends on how much we want to spend on it. You know, there's a potential cost there.
And then do they have like, specifications for like pedestals and lighting?
Yeah, that
Download
was
that too, or
line service upgrade relocation specification sheet.
okay,
Yeah. So that's all stuff we have. We just
Right.
upload it. And
right, but they could download that stuff.
so just to give some perspective to our board here, currently our process well, we've kind of changed it. You have those specifications printed out that we can hand customers. But up until we printed those, what, 2 weeks ago, we were telling customers, go look at Green Mountain Powers and whatever they have is good with us. And that doesn't look good
No.
to do that.
no,
So
Yeah.
the hope is that by doing this, we will have a professional looking area where customers can get the information that they, and as I said during my interview, my job, in my opinion, is to evangelize the electric company. And I think this is a big step forward for that.
Do you think that the utility billing software could be a place to build forms?
Potentially. I know they talked about line extensions and being able to do that. And saying that they do have an area, you can do line extensions, you can do deposits, like on
I'm just
accounts.
thinking because of if it's a utility billing software, it can.
The whole account should be
Go.
part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
If there's a need to pay.
Right.
Deposit, then.
Right.
Go through the form.
Exactly.
Could the forms be like use an API from the Eldorado software?
We could, it's all gonna be. I don't like to, when I do RFPs, especially with tech companies, I don't like to get too specific because you do, and they start going, there's no way in heck I'm gonna start bidding on this project. I think those are good conversations to have with them once we start having the conversation of this, we've decided we're going with them. This is the company we're gonna work with. Now, what are our possibilities for forms? And see what they say. They're gonna have to work with Eldorado. If we're signing up with Eldorado, we're going with them, they're gonna have to work with them. And I can pretty much guarantee any of these companies will be fine with working with with Eldorado. I don't think it's gonna be an issue.
Will they be able to pay their bills?
They'll be able to pay their bills. They'll be able to not come into the office if they don't want to. They can literally just hit pay by credit card. The service fee will be added on. At some point, we may want to consider getting rid of the service fee, potentially, if we're trying to push people to online payments.
Yeah.
It may streamline things a little bit, but that's obviously something we can decide later. It's an easy change whenever. But yeah, right, they'll be able to log right in and do it right from, wherever they are. Smartphones, they can set up auto pay if they want, just to automatically pay every month and it's done. I've had so many people tell me if we had auto pay, they would never miss a payment.
That
Not
that
convinced.
could be a carrot for the fee
Yep.
waiver.
Yep.
Sign up for auto pay, get the.
Yes, actually, good point. Yep. So lots of different options. And I think if we're talking about moving forward with Eldorado, it makes sense for us to start the conversation about a website as well. So
do we need a motion to?
So moved.
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Second.
All in favor?
I-
All right.
Ken, I believe that is the last thing I have that I would like to be part of. You are welcome to stay. The only other thing is the BEPSA balance that we have outstanding, but that's up to you if you want to stay for that or not. You're not leaving, are you?
Well, you want me to leave?
You're gonna stay for executive session?
No, I don't have to stay.
Okay. All right.
You know what?
Yep. Okay.
No, I'm not. I get bedtime.
Me too. All right. So as I have mentioned, Community Bank and M&T, we have made the switch. Not completely, but we're in the process of it. We do have a few little housekeeping approvals that we need to do from the whole board. We have preliminary approval from John and Bud, but we want to get full approval. The first is the ability to do remote capture. Essentially, we can put a scanner like the banks have right here in the office for checks. We can scan every check through the scanner, and it saves us a trip to the bank pretty much every day that we go right now. So that's $25 a month. I think that's an easy expense, and John and Bud both believe so as well. So we did go ahead and purchase one, but we do need full board authorization to agree with that. $25 a month is okay.
I make a motion that we approve the remote capture for $25 a month. Someone second that? All in favor?
The next one is ACH payments, automatic payments. This is really for, we do two separate things of automatic payments. The first is the direct deposit. So essentially every week authorizing the direct deposit. And the second is authorizing payments to the US Treasury for our monthly payments for taxes. Those are the two. Well, we currently only do the Treasury. And I ask that I am able to transmit those. I think, John, you had recommended that I become an authorizer to be able to do that every week so that John doesn't have to come in every week and do that authorization. As long as you guys are okay with that, I'm fine with it. That's direct deposit. Mary Lee would set up the direct deposit and I would log in to authorize it. So that there's the checks and balances there. And then at the end of the month, each month we still have the payroll warrant that you guys approve. Anyway, so there's the checks are still in place. The checks and balances are still in place. It's just the authorization to be able to do that.
So someone want to make a motion for?
Sorry, are we going too fast for you, John?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Direct deposit for payroll
Payroll.
and then direct deposit for,
The ACH
Or
payment for
ACH.
Treasury. So the actual approval I would ask for is for James to be able to transmit ACH payments in general. That way, if there's any ACH payments that come up that for some reason we're not currently doing, that authorization is already in place. And it's within the bank online software, you pretty much have permission or you don't have permission. So I don't see the point in separating it. John would have authorization permissions as well. So if for some reason I'm out, you're able to do it or vice
Yeah.
versa. So it would work.
did somebody make a motion?
Not yet. You ready?
Yeah, sort of. Go ahead. Getting tired.
I'm sorry.
I make a motion that we approve James to transmit ACH payments. In general. Someone second that? All in favor?
Aye.
So the next one is bank authorization for John Doty to sign opening paperwork for accounts. Obviously, accounts are already open. John already signed it, but we do need to authorize him as a signer. As treasurer, it was assumed he did have that authorization, but I think we should just make sure that we do. I think you asked for this, right? You asked for this for the.
Well, I just.
I think it makes sense. It's an unusual circumstance, so.
I made a motion authorizing John Doty to sign for opening accounts.
Someone second for
Second.
that? All in favor?
Aye.
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 The next one, are you good, John? I'll wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Minutes, I can see it.
The next one is Transco. These are dividends that are paid monthly and quarterly. The big ones are quarterly. My understanding, I think Bud, you were the one who, or Mary, somebody had mentioned to me that these used to go into money market account. And then for some reason it was stopped. I'm not exactly sure why. Knowing that, have decided that we should start putting them back in money market. I just want to make sure you're aware, see if there's anyone who's opposed to that.
So did it just go into the
It
general?
was going to general checking. What was the reason we stopped? Do you remember why we stopped putting it in?
Other than being short in our checkbook.
Is that what it was? We were just shorting our checks. Yeah.
Other than that,
Okay.
just the dividend we got from Transco.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It just makes sense
Yeah.
to put a dividend back into a dividend,
Right.
generating account, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, yeah.
We can always take it out if we have an emergency.
Right.
Right.
So does someone want to make a motion?
I don't think we even need it. As long as you guys are,
Yeah,
are
no.
fine with it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I have for banking.
What about the credit card?
Oh, that's right. So we had talked about a credit card and we said, let's hold off until, so this would be a card that can be used for small minor purchases in between, for, if for some reason I'm ever traveling and need a hotel, which I needed when I went to Swanton, minor purchases that are done within the office. If we need to purchase something from somewhere, that we don't normally do. You guys probably saw on the accounts payable for this month, you are paying me like $230 refund for stuff I put on my own card. That was a refrigerator that's out here for the office. And I forget what else. I had a few other things in there. Registration. I had to register the truck. That was included in that.
All you needed to do was just go up to the
Really?
Big Stanley's beer cooler.
Oh, I know, exactly, right? What
What
was,
happened to the truck gas, for reading the meters?
yep.
Talking about a card for him to,
So that's the second part of this. So essentially we need a credit card for the office that we can use. I would recommend having one for the office, and then I would like one for me when I'm traveling, because I do travel at least once a month for VEPSA meetings. It would be nice to have that, if you guys are okay with that. One big thing we do is our phones have to be on a credit card. So our phone, every month, not my cell phone, the physical phones in the office, that payment is $80 every month that I pay out of my own pocket, currently, and to get reimbursed for it. It just needs a card. That's the only way they take
We use
payment.
the new.
It's the new service, yeah. So that's another one. The other card that I am suggesting, we could use a regular card. If we want, we could just get a third one, keep it in the truck, and good to go. I was talking to next door at the gas station, and they suggested that we consider a fleet card, which gives you discounts on your fuel. It allows you to purchase other places. And for the gas station next door, she said she has almost no fees from a fleet card. So she really, it's good for her.
Also, I think if you get maintenance, there's some sort of.
Right. So my suggestion, I was only going to ask for the United Bank of Omaha card that Community Bank offers, but then I found out about the fleet card and I was thinking, well, that
I already brought this to the board.
kind of makes sense to do. Right?
But you go ahead.
I know, right? I get all the credit for
There you
everything. So I would ask that you guys authorize both of those, that we can start that process going forward.
Are we gonna
would
get,
that be the same card for the bucket truck?
Yeah, we'd get two. Fleet card would have two. We'd have one for the bucket truck and one for the red truck.
would the fleet card be that gas station card?
I think
Fabian?
it wouldn't. No, it's a different one. So she recommended, I think Wex is a common brand. And she said that one works really well around here. Pretty much everybody takes it. So I kind of did a little digging, but I haven't really looked. I figured I'd wait for an authorization before we pursue it further.
And then,
And then United Bank of Omaha is through Community Bank.
Yeah.
So that's their recommendation. That's the credit card that they recommend. And that would be, I think that's fine. I don't see a reason why
And that
not.
could be used for Richard if he's out there reading meters and he's up in Dover or something.
Yep, yeah, and that's the other thing is with this new bucket truck, it's a good truck. I mean, the line guys are really impressed with this truck. Really happy with it. And I mean, technically in a bad storm, there's no reason our guys can't go to Ludlow or wherever and help.
So
And
they could fill up.
they could fill up anywhere with that fleet card. But if we are just going off of what we currently have, they can only go wherever one tank of fuel gets them back.
None of these cards have annual fees or anything like that.
I'll check and make sure. I would never sign up for one that would. But yeah, I'll have to check and figure out what one makes sense.
Well, I'm gonna hit the road, guys.
Sorry, long meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was interesting.
Thanks for coming over, Pete.
Thank you very
Ken,
much.
thanks for stepping up to the plate.
Okay.
This thing that happened to me, it's not only physical, but I'm finding it's mental too, so I'm glad you stepped up to the plate.
Thanks, Pete.
We'll
See you soon,
hold
okay?
judgment on my mental capacity.
Thanks,
I'm almost as old as Mike.
Good talking with you.
You too.
Take care, Pete.
I'll drop at the same time. Great meeting. tonight. Thank you.
Ken.
Right.
See ya.
So that one I would need a motion for on that. All right.
I move that we allow James to pursue a credit card and a fleet card in the best terms possible.
Second, can Yeah.
Can I amend that a little bit
Yeah.
and make me an authorized signer as well to be able to sign the agreements for that, or do you want to be part of that and sign those?
No.
Okay. Because they're gonna have me do an application.
Yeah.
This will allow me to be authorized to sign
To
it.
sign it.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye. All right. Well, that'll probably help us with like Dun and Bradstreet and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Outstanding VEPSA balance. So now we spent all the money. Now we got to look at how much we have. Currently, as of the beginning of this month, as of the end of last month, really, amount due is $421,157. We did make a payment,
What's that amount again?
but
What was that amount?
$421,157.11. So essentially we made a payment of about 90 something thousand for last month. Obviously we made we made $67,000 in revenue this month and paid out to VEPSA 90,000. So this month we really are probably not going to have a whole lot to pay them. I am hoping to pay all the small, if you look at this, anything that says CDA, it's a big number.
Yeah.
We're hoping to not, I'm hoping to probably not pay most of those. The 49,725 is on my desk in an envelope because it's the end of the M&T account. So I think that might be paid as long as we have it. That's the CDA for November of 2023.
What's CDA?
Oh, I don't know what it stands for, but it's residential power purchase.
Okay.
That's our actual, how much it's gonna cost us for power. All the small numbers, I'm hoping to pay all of those every month for sure. So that way it's easy, you can look at it and it's, 4 or 5, whatever it is, CDA payments is what we have outstanding. So I do have, as I said on the warrant, there was 29,000 was the check for the rest of the small stuff. And that would get us caught up with that. It's just the bigger numbers that we would have left. I have already, during the truck loan process, spoke with Community Bank about a line of credit. They are very interested in helping us with that. The one thing that they asked me to have before we apply is our audit for 2023. So we do have that. We are now paying interest again on this. We got 3 months of reprieve from VEPSA on this interest. We are now, as of July 1st, paying that again. So we did get hit with that cost since this came out. That's about $2,500 a month current rate, depending on how much obviously we have. It's, as I said, it's 8%. Community Bank seemed to think we would be in the 5% range on a line of credit. So they definitely encouraged us to apply. I don't know if I necessarily need a motion on that, but as long as I have your kind of approval, I think we all kind of knew that we were headed that direction. My request is going to be a $500,000 line of credit, but we may need to bump that up potentially to 6 or 7 based on what we're looking at. But we're, we're just gonna have to kind of keep an eye on it. But I think we could go in and request the 500,000 line of credit from Community Bank and get that in the works.
And that would mean that eventually all this will disappear.
This all would, yeah, so we would no longer owe BEPSA anything. We'd put this all on a line of credit at 5% instead
So
of
the bank's
8%.
interest is cheaper than.
It's cheaper than BEPSA. Because BEPSA's, I mean, that's just, we're not paying a bill.
Yeah.
And so when we go in for a rate case, it looks like we're just not paying a bill. Whereas if we have a line of credit that we're using, it
Yeah.
looks like you don't have the money and you're using negative money. And so when you go in for a rate case, it looks a lot better to have
Yeah.
it on a line of credit.
Yes.
I would not say it's going to hold up us applying for a rate case if for some reason this doesn't go through before. But if you talking to the other utilities, this is like super common. They all have line of credits, and essentially the rule is as soon as you touch your line of credit, that's when you go in for a rate case. That's like the process. You touch your line of credit, that's your sign, get stuff together, you're going in for a rate case. And so it makes sense. That's where we should have, what we should have.
So the net M is net meter?
Yes, so that's the net metering, that we have for, so there's a software and hours that are done for net metering, right? I don't know if the software would go away. I feel like it must because we don't really have a reason for it at that point, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I was going to ask Ken that, which we can do as we go forward. Do you guys think I need a motion on the line of credit? I might, you know what I might need? I probably need me being an authorizer, authorized to sign the paperwork for a line of credit is probably what I need. So that would be a motion. The motion for me to be an authorized signer to apply for a line of credit at Community Bank.
I make a motion that we give James a authorization to apply for a line of credit for 500,000 at Community Bank.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Now I have two of my inserts here. Ads since the meeting agenda went out. The first is I'm not sure if you guys know or not. We have some old high bay UFO lights in the garage bay that take about 5 minutes to turn on. They're the old gas lamps that you turn on, wait 5 minutes, and eventually they warm up and get bright. I was looking for LED bulb replacement. That's how this whole thing started. Rod and I were discussing it, and essentially there's nothing out there. You have to replace the whole fixture. Somebody came in and gave me an estimate from CED. It's about $700 to change out the bulbs right now, or change out the fixtures. That's with an Efficiency Vermont credit. I personally would like to get other quotes if we ever do this, but I'm also, Jen sent me a grant application that I've been thinking kind of just maybe have somebody come in and do a whole energy audit on the whole building. Because we know windows need to be replaced. We know there's quite a bit of work from that perspective that could be done. So my suggestion is maybe hold off on this, but I did want to bring it to your attention I mean, when you turn those on and watch the meter, our meter flies when those turn on. It's costing us a lot in electricity for these bulbs. So I don't know if you guys want me to change them out now and have it done and over with, I can. But Rod and I have been talking and we kind of feel like maybe we should hold off and see if there's anything else out there that can give us a more holistic.
Let's point those out to me.
I will, yeah.
Thanks. That could be one of the things that is shooting my.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, do you have one?
I have. Two.
Yeah. Yeah, get rid of them. The next thing is I do need, we voted on changing Beamers But you guys are okay with holding on that, right?
Yeah.
Not spending money?
Yeah.
You're okay with that? The Beamers, we voted in April to approve changing groups from Beamers. That is all set all the way through. The one thing they gave me is a letter that you guys need to acknowledge and approve this letter as the Board of Trustees. We just need it in the minutes that says you acknowledge and approve this. So I'm just going to read it. This letter is an acknowledgement of the receipt of the minutes on June 26, 2024, the Village of Jacksonville meeting minutes dated April 9th, 2024, voting that the eligible members of the Village of Trustees are enrolled in Beamer's Group B. These minutes must be amended to note the effective change to be July 1st, 2024. All new eligible employees hired after the date of July 1st, 2024 of this vote shall automatically be enrolled in Group B effective July 1st, 2024. An election, oh, that's the second part. So essentially it just says any eligible employee has to be in that group going forward. You're given the option when we make the change, but now going forward, all employees have to be approved. Jen, I'm going to give you that for the minutes. It's just that, the second paragraph. So you guys need to vote and just make sure you approve that that's the wording and that employees going forward will be in Group B.
I make a motion that we acknowledge the letter and approve the wording as written.
Perfect.
Someone second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Truck sale and purchase. You guys know we have the new truck. It's working great. Everybody is very happy with it. The 18th of every month, I believe it is, we will have an automatic debit of our account with that payment. It is included in the payment accounts payable warrant.
Yeah.
So just as a heads up, it's there, but it will be debited automatically. There won't be a check written for it. The sale of the old truck, we moved forward with a company coming to pick up the truck. It was $500 for us to have the company come pick it up versus us paying Rod and myself to drive down and do it. It was actually cheaper, we figured, than having it driven down ourselves. So they came and picked it up. I think it was 2 Saturdays ago. It is on the auction site. The auction is supposed to take place on the 15th of July, I believe. So another week, and we'll find out where we're at with that. That's definitely, and it is on their site already. I saw it. They have nice pictures of it. It actually looks really good. So hopefully that will be something we have. The question the bank had was, do we want to take that money, the proceeds from the sale, and apply it to the truck, towards the balance of what we have outstanding? I believe that's what we want to do. But technically, I mean, we could put it in our general checking account and use it. And if we do decide to put it towards the loan, we can either re-amortize the loan, meaning we can make our payments cheaper, or we can just put it towards the principal and pay it off quicker.
What's the interest rate of the truck loan?
5.8
Yeah,
ish,
believe so.
somewhere in that range. It's 5 something.
Okay. If you were to get that line of credit to pay off debt, so when would that likely occur? Before or after we get the?
After we get the line of credit, after we get this check. This check should be within the next 2 weeks we get it, and the line of credit's probably a month out at least.
I'm just thinking that we would probably benefit from paying whatever for VEPSA with an 8% interest rate than going towards the truck.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, makes sense to me. I haven't thought about it, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Looks like a net gain of 3.some%.
I don't, we could make a couple $1,000s, or we can make 20 or 30,000. You know, we don't. It could be.
Yeah.
We could make out well. It could be nothing and
wash.
not make a difference in the end anyway. But yeah, I that's fine with me if that's what we want to do.
I don't
That makes sense.
think that might need a.
I think that's the best use of money.
And I don't think the bank cared either way, by the sound of it. They were kind of, if we want to put something towards it, they have some options, but if not, that's fine too.
Do we need a vote for that or?
As long as you guys all agree, I'm fine with it. Jen, just let me know when you're ready. Accident update. Not much change here. No new accidents, which is good. Reed Hill Road, from 2023. We reached out, as I said, this was one that I found that we hadn't billed. I reached out and sent them a bill. It's like $7,400 or so. I reached out and said, you need to pay it. And they came back to me and said, no, we were going to pay this portion of it. And I the day of, I was not dealing with it, which actually worked out well. And I essentially said, no, this is the cost. This is the actual cost. You're going to pay the whole thing. Or if you need me to put you in touch with our lawyer, let us know. And next thing I know, I had a check in the mail for the full amount. So it worked. That's the process going forward, I guess. And so we got a check for that one. So that one is all set. I have no progress yet on the Route 112 one. I want them to be at least 30 days past due before I reach out to something. So we're about to hit that, obviously.
Did we get that through our insurance?
That's what I'm going to start exploring now that we're
And then
30
will
days.
insurance go after them or not?
They might say it's not worth it.
That's
I
what I
don't
wondered.
know. I mean, he doesn't have insurance, so they might just pay it and say it's, it is.
But how is that going to affect our insurance? The insurance companies, once
Once you make a claim,
you make a claim,
Your rate's small.
that's what I've asked a few municipalities that use VLCT on this, and including the town of Whitingham. And the claim is that everyone I've talked to said that any claim that they have made has not affected their rate with VLCT. That they're very honest about what they do.
because I seen a paper here within a couple, 3 weeks where Lindenville had a covered bridge that got
Oh, yeah.
turned into numerous times.
Yeah. And the insurance wouldn't cover it, right?
Insurance company, the same one we got,
Yeah.
to pay part of it. They had to pay some,
Right.
but they paid a lot of it. I think for 100,000 they got
Yeah.
out of the insurance company.
Not bad. I'll take a third. Yeah, so that I figured I'd wait for it to go 30 days past. And then we'll see where we're at on that. Yep. And then the other option, I think we decided at the last meeting, we'll pursue two different options. We'll do the insurance, but then we'll also do
Did you get your money from the one below date addictions yet?
not yet. I've been in contact with her. We're waiting on Green Mountain Power's bill at this point.
Okay.
I think it's going to be an insurance claim. She told me that Consolidated was 4,000, I think, and we're 4,000 right now before Green Mountain Power, and she had 8,000 that she could pay. So we'll see. She said Consolidated allows for financing if you're paying out of pocket. So she said maybe, but we'll see how it all plays out. She's been up front. She calls me probably every 2 weeks and asks where we're at. So it's been, I mean, she's definitely, and we have her insurance information in case we do stop hearing from her at that point. Next thing, outages this month. This is really just for your information. I will ask you, do you want to keep seeing this? Do you care what outages occurred, how much it costs? I started making this. I will continue to track it from our perspective, but I'm not sure if this is something you're interested or not. It's really, the reason I'm keeping track of this is to kind of show the impact that it's having versus having people call Green Mountain Power. And at the end of the year, I'm hoping to kind of be able to sum that up and say, you know, instead of paying 116,000, we paid Rod a little bit of money or Dale a little bit of money. But this really saved us X amount of dollars. That's the hope of kind of keeping track of it. So that's up to you. If you want to keep receiving it, I will include it in the packet, but there's no real actions to take on that.
I think it's good information.
I think it's kind of interesting.
It's definitely interesting. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
it kind of gives you the picture. You know, 50 years ago, when there was a young buck working for the electric company with an older guy, the lines had a reputation for always being in good shape, and we very seldom lost power.
That's the hope to get back to that.
That's because Lee Kingsley and Rod Beavis
Exactly.
trimmed on the lines.
That's the hope, is to get back to that. That is singly the reason why Rod is like, we've let this slip over the years and
Well,
we need to get back.
He
on
would
it.
know, because
He would know. He knows what needs to be done.
Back to Route 112.
Yes.
Do we know much about the individual? Do they work? Are they talented? Are they busy? Are they?
He works. I don't know if he's paid under the table or if it's on the table.
I'm just wondering
He's
if
around.
there's something that, it's not
A barter
kosher.
situation.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Do we need any help, and is he capable of giving any, to do any kind of, if we're gonna end up going towards the,
The problem is the insurance.
The insurance.
He would need, if he did anywhere, like tree,
Yeah.
he probably is capable of helping us do tree trimming. He would have to either be an employee
Mhm.
on our books and under our insurance, or he would have to carry his
Carry his
own
own.
insurance, which clearly he's not gonna do. So I agree, because he is capable and would be a great person to have help with some of that stuff, because I know he's capable of it. I don't know kosher wise if we could do that. I'd have to talk to a few people to see if that's possible.
Yeah.
Because $25,000 worth of tree trimming can go a long way.
Yeah.
Even if it's with loppers.
I mean,
And I don't know if he would,
You're-
even do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he kind of thinks he's protected right now and doesn't really care. You know how many times I've seen him, I've been this close to saying something, but I keep the electric company as the electric company as much as possible. If I'm not working at the office, then I'm not gonna say anything. And what's really too bad is he's not one of our customers. If he was one of our customers, we really could potentially push that a little bit, but. So the last thing, I asked that we go into executive session for a brief moment to discuss, employee pay rate, of a particular employee. And we need a motion to do that.
I make a motion that we go into executive session. In second, all in favor?
We need to state the reason.
Do it, yeah,
We just,
yeah, for
I'll give you the full verbiage like I did last time for the minutes
employee
too.
rate.
okay.
Under VSFA, I don't remember or VSA.
Wasn't sure how much to say. in front of-
Oh, it's probably in the minutes, isn't it?
you have to stop the tape.
I will. I'll stop the recording on the VSFA 313 discussion of an employee. That motion
Yeah.
made, seconded, and approved.
Yeah.
Turn our camera and mic back on. Executive session was exited at 9 o'clock.
Well,
8:57.
8:57. Bud me.
You got that call back to order now?
Yep, we're good.
All right.
You wanna make that motion, Bud?
Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, I make a motion that we pay Richard $50 an hour when he tree trimming.
One second that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Great.
All I have on the agenda,
And that's it.
unless there's any other.
Any other business, new business? All right, I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 8:58.
Second that.
All in favor?
There could be, your checkbook, take the sound.